Hey everybody, welcome to day 41 where we are going to be talking all about villains and how to make hated characters within our stories. Go ahead and click that subscribe button below if you haven't already, and whatever it is you're drinking today, go ahead and grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Important to keep in mind when we're talking about creating villains is that they need to be just as complex as every other one of your characters in the story. So if you do not have a character worksheet for your villain, but you do for all of your good guys, you're doing it wrong. Your villain needs to be just as well thought out as everybody else. And one of the most important things to focus on as we go through those character sheets and fill them out for our villains is what are their motivations. We need to know why they are the way they are, what made them evil. A lot of times it's a tragic backstory, but not always. Sometimes that's just how they are. It's like the Joker just wanting to watch the world burn. And there can be a lot of different motivations driving our villains. A lot of them do it for greed. They want the money. They want to be the millionaire. They want to steal everybody else's hard-earned cash so that they can live the high life. Sometimes they do it out of love. They want to prove their love to somebody. And so they're going to great and terrible lengths to prove their love to somebody, which is of course a terrible way to prove love, but maybe not to them. Power is a big one. And that might not actually just be the power to rule the world. Sometimes it's just the power over their own lives. If they haven't ever had it, they're trying to work towards gaining power so that they can reclaim things like freedom that they've lost. Sometimes the motivation can be that they're trying to protect others, which, is normally a good guy trait, but if they go to really evil and terrible lengths in order to do it, then they can very easily become the bad guy. Some of our villains have been wronged in the past, and so their motivation is that they want revenge, which isn't necessarily a terrible motivation, except if they're willing to go to great and terrible lengths to get it. Self-preservation can be a big villain motivator. This would be like Walter White when he gets cancer and starts making meth, and he doesn't start off as such a terrible guy. That definitely comes later, but self-preservation was where he started, and that was his beginning motivation. But a lot of times, actually, the villains think that they are doing the right thing. And so there is a saying that villains are the hero of their own story. And in a really good complex villain, I would say that this is almost always true. And I want you to think of Thanos for this. He is one of the biggest, baddest, most terrible villains in the whole Marvel universe, but in his mind, he's trying to wipe out half of everybody. But in his warped and twisted view, he thinks that it's because it's going to make everybody else's lives better. He thinks that poverty will be less, that there will be more to go around if half of the people are gone. So what he's really trying to set out to do is better society and give people better, richer, more fulfilling lives. He, of course, is doing it all wrong, but in his point of view, he thinks he's doing the right thing. So having really clear motivations is extremely important towards making your villains feel real and believable and not just cartoonish, mustache twirling bad guys. Now I want to move forward and give you guys 4 specific elements that you can put into your stories that will make your villain highly hateable, very terrible. It's like a knee-jerk reaction that your readers will have as soon as they read this, that they'll say, oh no, that's a bad person. So the first one is if your character has drastic overreactions to the wrongdoings of others. So this would be like if somebody stepped on somebody else's lawn and then that somebody else shot them for it. Okay, the first person, yes, was in the wrong, but the second person overreacted so far that nobody in their right mind would ever take their side. Or this would be like if country A talked smack about country B and then country B nuked country A in return just for the smack talking. That would be a drastic, gross overreaction. And now nobody is going to think that that country was in the right for what they did. Or this would be like if you were in a school setting and kid A said, you suck at math, and kid B said, yeah, well, your mom died of a heart attack because she hated you and didn't want to live anymore. I feel evil just saying it. Kid A was being a little bit mean, but Kid B grossly overreacted and now becomes the bad guy of the story. So number 1 is drastic, gross overreactions. And number 2 is the killing or harming of innocents. This would be like anybody who harms a kitten. Instant, villainous, bad guy, no redeeming qualities, cannot come back from that. But this is also the bad guy who's walking down the street and just kills the innocent bystanders because they're there, for no other reason than that they glanced in his direction, if even they did that. The killing or harming of innocents is a big deal for turning your readers against a character. Number 3 is when people are treated unfairly. So Harry Potter is a prime example because he lives with Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, who treat him horribly through no fault of his own. They just hate that he's a wizard, and so they treat him horribly because of it. That's unfair, but is doubly unfair because they treat Dudley so well. They put him on a pedestal and give him all the gifts that he wants. How many are there? This would also be when the messenger delivers some some bad news and their boss kills them for it. Totally unfair. And that definitely turns your readers against that character. And number 4 might actually be the most effective one I know, and that is what I call kicking the underdog. So this would be like the rich bully in the school, making fun of the poor struggling student who's just trying to get by. They're making fun of them for not having nice clothes and they're getting everybody else to laugh at them. That's what I call kicking the underdog, because the person being kicked is already struggling and they're being kicked by the person who's already doing pretty well. Or this would be the kid who's really insecure in gym class and is getting picked last, and the most athletic kid in the class is making fun of them and calling them weak and fat. That would be kicking the underdog, and that is probably one of the best ways to turn your reader against these characters. So villains can be a lot of fun to write, and it's really one of the only times in your life that you get to channel your inner evil and put it onto the page. So don't feel like you're too terrible of a person if you're coming up with surprisingly evil things. It is the writer in us and it is okay. Just don't let that carry over into your real life and we'll be good. But it is very important to make sure that your villainous characters have strong motivation, that they make sense, they're very believable, and that you put as much effort into creating them as you put into creating your good guys. And that is what I have to say about villains today. So yesterday we should have been at a total of 16,670. I wrote 1,406 words for a total of 1,881, so still tracking ahead a little bit. I am gonna jump off and hit my word count now for today, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I will see you guys tomorrow for day 42 of the 60-day novel writing challenge.